The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome. This is Heilman Group, and we are presenting the Google Analytics Best Practices Workshop today. Just wanted to kind of let everyone know that we still got another maybe 5 minutes, and we're going to let a few stragglers that are still jumping in get situated. If you have any technical difficulties or questions, feel free to raise your hand or reach out through the chat within GoToMeeting, and we will begin here in the next maybe 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, it's noon, so we're going to kick things off. Again, welcome and hello. This is Heilman Group. My name is Alex Greger, Senior Demand Gen Technologist here. We're going to work through the Google Analytics Workshop today. We want this to be a pretty interactive webinar, so feel free to reach out throughout with questions through the actual question panel in the GoToWebinar. Heilman Group is a group, a digital marketing agency. We work at the intersection of marketing, creative, and technology to create smart digital solutions. We kind of work in B2B healthcare space, working on everything from custom applications and website design to social media management, paid search, SEO, and then all the kind of analytics and data that's behind the scenes that you'll learn today. So today we're actually talking Michelle Law, our Senior Demand Gen Analyst. She's our in-house Google Analytics guru. She is our all things analytics and reporting resource in terms of best practices and key to all answers. So she will be walking you through the sample Google Analytics actual platform. We had many questions submitted through the registration process. So we're going to hit as many as we can, as well as any that come through during the actual presentation. Again, we want to encourage you to reach out with any specifics or any questions or understandings that need while she is walking through the platform, so you get as much as you can out of this workshop. To kind of, at the end, I'll mention again, but look for a follow-up that's coming out probably early next week with our best practices guide on Google Analytics. That communication will be sent out to kind of everyone that is attending today. So look for that to come through early next week. As you can see, our agenda today is kind of a overview on the workshop. So we'll discuss kind of how we'd like you to engage throughout the presentation. Then we're going to jump into common questions and concerns, so kind of high-level questions and Google Analytics 101 walkthrough, if you will. Then we're going to get into specifics within the platform. So here we're going to get out of a presentation deck and actually get into a GA sample platform where you'll be able to see reports, how they're pulled, how different functions and processes are actually done within the account based on kind of the questions we received through the invite process. So to kind of kick off the workshop overview, or kind of how we'd like you to engage throughout this process, there is the control panel. When you logged in, it should be on the right side of your screen. There's two ways we'd like you to engage. By raising your hand if you have any technical difficulties, and we'll have somebody reach out to you and try to troubleshoot, as well as asking questions throughout the workshop. Asking questions through either the chat window or the question window. If you ask those, we will try our best to answer all of them, depending on the volume that comes in. And any questions that we don't receive, we'll either follow up directly with you or put together a blog post with all the Q&A as a follow-up response. So I will hand it off now to Michelle for the actual workshop and walking through the platform.
Sure. So before we jump into the Google Analytics platform, let's kick off by reviewing some common questions and concerns. So some of these questions we received ahead of time from people who are attending the webinar and they previously submitted. Some are just common questions that we see across the board when talking to other users of Google Analytics and also with talking to clients. So a lot of different areas that people are concerned with is how do they set expectations or goals, or how do they pick the right metrics out of Google Analytics to report on? How do they share these reports? How are users satisfied with this way, and how can you go through and measure it? As well as some specific questions like how do you calculate concurrent users, and how do you measure the success of campaigns both online and offline? Throughout this, our plan is to hit most of these common questions and concerns, and if we run out of time at the end, we can follow up with any specific questions individually, as well as create a summary blog post that answers some more of the generic questions. So with that, let's dive into the Google Analytics platform. Here you can see is the Heilman Group demo account that we're using. And we're going to go ahead and look through our account where we have a profile view where we have our IP filter set up. So before we dive into some more of the advanced tactics, let's go ahead and start with a Google Analytics 101 introduction. And this way we can review the platform itself and how to navigate through different tabs and areas. On the left up here, the first section is our dashboards. This is an area where you can compile some quick reference, memorized set shortcuts that provide analytic overviews of several different metrics on one page. So rather than navigating to several different pages within the platform, you can view them all at once at a singular time. You can set up your own custom dashboards and create your own metrics here, and that'll enable you to measure and track the metrics that are most important to you. We will come back to this section later and touch on how we can go ahead and dive into more advanced metrics using this through audience segmentation. Our next section that we're going to look at are shortcuts. This is very similar to the dashboard reporting category, except for this time it's focusing on a singular specific report. But here we can save an advanced report where we might have several customizations set up. For example, here we have set up our paid campaign performance, and we have it pre-logged set as our campaign name so we can track performance. And over here we can track the success of our goals and compare them against each other. So it's easy for us to quickly access the report here that we use quite often without having to go through the platform itself and reset it up every single time. The next section is the intelligent events. We won't spend too much time on this, but really the important takeaway here is this is a way to set up custom alerts, whether you send to your phone or to your email address, and this can alert you of different things that are happening on your website. So perhaps you want to track the when a certain page reaches 100 visits in a single day, or perhaps you're trying to track over an event when your website traffic reaches over 200 at a particular time. So this is a great way to receive live-time automatic alerts to stay informed of what's happening. Lastly, we have our real-time analytics. And this literally is what it sounds like. It's showing you what's happening live on your site and can provide insights as to where people are, where they're coming from, and so on. So this is particularly useful when you have a live event and you want to see how people are engaging on your site. It also can be really useful if you're running a very large branding campaign. And a great example here would be if you were running a Super Bowl advertisement. When you're running it then, you could go ahead and look at the section, and while that commercial was running or right after it, you would be able to see the type of engagement that commercial had generated and what's happening real time right after it. The next 4 sections are really the core of the Google Analytics platform. And this is what I like to call the who, the how, the what, and the why. So our audience section is telling us who is arriving at your site. It just shares everything from the demographics, interests, and geo-behavior. So it's really a great way to get to know who is visiting your website and how you can better target them or reach people that are perhaps in your target market that you aren't currently reaching right now. The next section is our acquisition. And this is the how are people reaching your site. This shares with you the different sources, referrals, and different areas that are attracting new people to your site or returning visitors to your site. Through here, you can also gain valuable insights as to how different channels are performing against each other. It also can provide some really nice details as far as AdWords and organic search if you have the connected accounts. Next, we have behavior, and this is the what of your visitors. This is telling you what visitors are doing when they are arriving at their site, or more specifically, which pages are they visiting, what events are taking place, and what are they searching within the search bar of your website. And then very lastly, we have our conversions. This area is not a automatically set up and enabled feature of Google Analytics. It is something that you have to go through and set up to have these results and data showing. But this go ahead and provides insights as to the why, or why are people going to your site. And here you can track different goals and discover the reasoning behind different sources coming to your site. So with that, I think that gives a nice roundabout summary intro of our Google Analytics 101. So I think with that, we can start diving into some of the specific questions we received on the Google Analytics platform.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. The first question we have is, how often should we view Google Analytics to get a good sample size?
This is a little bit of a tricky question because there is no final definite answer. If we had to sit here and look you in the eyes and give you a final answer, typically we use a month time frame as a good sample size data, but it really depends on the amount of traffic that your website gets. If you are a high traffic site, you might be able to use a smaller period of time. If you're a low traffic site, it might be important to expand that period of time beyond a month. But the important thing to note is that the shorter the period of time, the more likely it is to be influenced by seasonality or some other kind of event, which can trigger outliers within your data. So always keep that in mind when selecting the time frame. And then to add on that, if you are looking for a literal specific number, you can find a statistical significance difference by calculating the exact size based on your expected conversion rate, detectable effect, and a few other numbers. And our suggestion here would not be, we're not going to give the exact formula, but because there are some really awesome tools out there. Optimizely provides a really nice and free tool called the A/B test sample size calculator. There's SurveyMonkey offers a sample size calculator that is reverse engineered. So if you know if you instead do know your sample size, you can reverse engineer it to find some of the other numbers as well. So if you want to get as specific as defining the exact sample size based on the statistical significance you're trying to achieve, there's some really great free tools out there that can enable you to calculate an exact number.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. The next question that we have is around sharing reports or information within Google Analytics for people that may not have login credentials. Could you walk us through how somebody would share data with somebody, whether it be a coworker or a client that may not have access or may not be able to log into the platform?
Sure. So there are essentially two different ways you can do this. The first one would be if you're creating a one-time report that you need to pull for a single person, and that would be as simple as navigating and creating the report view that you want to see within the Google Analytics platform, and then clicking up here to export, and you can select how you want the report to be pulled, whether it be an Excel sheet, CSV, PDF, or a Google Sheets. And then you can click and send it from there. So that's really the simplest way to do it. But what I think a lot of people miss, and what is a really useful tool, is to go ahead and instead set up automated reporting. And you would use this instance if you're going to be pulling a lot of the same reports every single month or every single week or on a continuing basis. And to set that up, to the left of the export button is an email button. And here you would simply type in the person that you would like to send this report to. You can change the subject. So we'll say, hey, Michelle, here is your Google Analytics report. Underneath that, similar to the export feature, you can decide how the report feature will be built, whether it's CSV, Excel, or PDF. And then most importantly, underneath that, we can set the frequency. So commonly, we'll see a lot of people set up reports to be automatically emailed on the first of every single month. Under advanced options, you can determine the length that you would like it to be sent, so whether it's just for 6 months or a full year. And then underneath that, you can also add additional notes to describe the report, or add additional notes if there's anything else that's left to be said. So to finish it off, we would just click Send here. And now we have our automated report set up. However, a lot of times there's people that want to be added, or perhaps you want to extend the report date. So in order to edit any reports that you have previously created, you want to go up here to the admin section, and underneath your profile view, near the bottom, there's a section called Scheduled Emails. By clicking on this, we can now see the report that we have set up. Underneath the actions, we can extend the date or remove it if we no longer need it. And by clicking on it, we can also edit, add additional people, or change anything that we have within here. One thing to note is that in order to add on to your report or include a different report, you have to go back to the Reporting tab up here and follow a very similar process to what you pulled. So let's say we want to add to our monthly report not only an overview of our audience, but we also want to add the top channels to the website. So again, up here, we'll hit that email button. And instead of filling out the form again, we'll go down here and click Add to an existing email. And this way here, we're able to go ahead and instead of sending 2 automated email reports, we can send 1 email with both the reports included.
Awesome. So we have a question kind of centered around the reoccurring reports and kind of what you just walked through on updating them. If you change the time frame that you're viewing after you've set up a reoccurring report, does the report pull from the original time frame or the new kind of viewing port that or time frame that you set up?
It'll pull from the same time frame. So if you set it for a month, it'll continue to report on the month. However, it'll be automatically updated to include the new month's worth of data when the report is sent.
Awesome.
Good question.
Cool. So one of our next questions that we received through the kind of invite and registration processes, one of our main focuses is tracking how many people visit the site each month. Do you think this is a valuable metric? And if so, why? Or if not, why?
Okay. Again, here it's a little bit tricky because there's never a definite final answer. We've been fortunate to work with a lot of different organizations, and it's great, but we find that goals can be very different from company to company, even if they're in the same industry and the same size and very similar in aspects. We've also found that a lot of goals can even be the same, or can even be different from departments within that company. So I think the important thing here is when you're going through is to understand that your goals can change, but you do need to define your goals internally. And what you want to do here is within Google Analytics, the best way is to set up goal tracking. So we'll go ahead and walk through this real quick. Again, this is in the admin section of Google Analytics. And underneath your profile view, there's a section called Goals. So here you can see that we have a few different setups. But in order to set up a new goal, you click the red button up here. And here it walks you through a nice 3-step goal setup process. Again, determining what your goal is can be very different from organization to organization. So here are just a few examples of different ideas that you might have. To touch on that further and maybe provide a little bit more of an answer to that, if your goal is to improve organic traffic, your main goals might be counting the number of organic visitors or counting the number of organic impressions, as well as your conversion rate for organic traffic. But on the other hand, if you're looking at paid search lead generation, your goals might be similar, but they're going to be different. Here, instead, you might be looking more for the average cost per lead, as well as the number of total leads, and again, probably your conversion rate. The one that I think stays the most consistent across each different goal would definitely be the conversion rate. But the idea here is that your goal might be a little bit different. For a hospital organization, it's likely to be requesting an appointment. For a B2B organization, it might be as simple as downloading a white paper or registering for a webinar. For others, it might be more brand awareness and engagement. So the goal there could be to simply spend over 3 minutes on the site, or to have to engage with a specific section on the site, such as the blog area or thought leadership. So in this example of setting up a goal here, let's go ahead and set up a template for a contact us form. Most websites do have that on their site, so I think this is a good example that we can walk through. So after we have selected it, you can come up here and create a goal description. Here would be the contact us, and there's a few different ways you can measure it. Again, for this, we're looking for people who reach the thank you page of our contact us form fill, so that would be the destination. Duration would be if we had an engagement goal of spending a certain amount of time on the site. Pages per screen would be a goal of having an average number of 3 pages per session. An event would be something custom, such as watching a video, downloading an image, or pressing some type of button on the site. Throughout each of these, when you're going through, there are definitely links where it says learn more, and that'll take you to the Google Analytics help section. It's extremely helpful, and there's a lot of really nice information to walk you through that process and set it up if you have any questions when you're going through. And then the final step here, since we selected the destination URL, would be looking for a URL that contains thank you, or that ends in thank you .html. So this could be an example of what you're doing. One way to check your work to make sure you are achieving something is down here with verify this goal. That'll go ahead and show you the % conversion rate based on the past 7 days of data. For us, this is going to trigger a 0 because we already have this goal conversion set up, and our URL up here is a little bit different based on what we have on our site. So the last step would be saving it. And we're not going to save our changes here, but up here you can see the different goals we've already set up. And down here, when we verify our existing goal, let's try a different one. You can see that we would have about a 6.5% conversion rate based on the past 7 days. So as your goals are set up, it won't add any goals to any previous data. This is only counting goals moving forward within the platform. But it's a really great way, especially when looking at the acquisitions tab of the channels. You can view the individual goals and see which channels are converting and at what % conversion rate. So this number right here is a very common to use, and one of the metrics that I would use, one of the metrics that I think we find the most valuable in determining how to measure our website month over month.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle.
And I have one more quick thing to add to that, and that would just be as best practice, once you do have these set up, it's important to report on them on a continuous and periodic pace. And after that, you can establish your benchmarks. And from there, you can set goals to improve your conversion rates or to improve the average time on site. So every single month, you should be determining what goal you reached and where you want to be. And then through that, you can make your optimizations and suggestions to move you there. And then the next month, you'll just continue to repeat, benchmark where you are, determine and write down where you want to be, and then continuously repeat the process.
Awesome. Great information. Setting up the goals really allows you to see and compare your campaigns against yourself in terms of how your individual channels are performing and your campaigns are performing. That's great information, Michelle. Thank you. Our next question that came in is talk to inheriting a Google Analytics account. They have recently inherited a GA account, and they're still a little confused on particular filters, deciding the kind of right hierarchy order, and kind of what's the optimal order of filters when creating them. The two examples that were given were consolidating host names and excluding the internal IP addresses. Could you give some background and maybe walk through kind of how the hierarchies work for filters and maybe specifically to consolidating host names and excluding internal IP addresses?
Absolutely. And it sounds like there are some pretty specific questions here as well. So we can definitely follow up afterwards to answer some of the questions directly that might be more organization specific. But with that, we can overview our filters. And this would be, again, jumping back to the admin section. And looking underneath your profile view, there's a section called filters. So here's an area where you can include or exclude traffic that you want to report on within a specific profile view. One important best practice is to always keep a profile view that is unfiltered, that contains no restrictions on data, so that no matter what happens, if you're testing something and something goes wrong, you're still always capturing all the data to your site and nothing will be lost if something does go wrong. So in order to do that, it would be up here underneath your profile view. You can create a new view, and that's where you could go ahead and begin testing new exclusions. Up here you can see our profile view called All Website Data is completely unfiltered, and that's kind of our safe profile where we allow all the data to collect there. Underneath we have a profile filter where here we're excluding our internal traffic, and we're also forcing all of our page URLs to have a lowercase. And we'll walk through both of those individually in a minute. But again, the process for setting up a new profile view is right there, and you can create up to 25 per property. Another thing to note with filters is they cannot be applied to previously collected data. So once you add a filter, it's only going to be influencing, including or excluding traffic moving forward from that period of time. As far as the order of the filters are concerned, they should be built in order of importance. Whichever one has a rank number 1 is going to be the one that's fired or used first, and then so words on through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one is fairly straightforward as far as determining the optimal order of filters. And here we'll walk through, we'll begin by walking through how to exclude internal IP addresses. So if we click through to this one's already pre-built, and here's where we're excluding any of our internal employee traffic when we might be testing or logging on or making edits to our own site. We're blocking traffic within this profile view so we can get more accurate conversion rates based on prospects or current clients arriving at our site. So the first step is to name it. So probably something pretty straightforward with your company name and IP address exclusion. Here we can use a predefined filter type, and we want to select exclude from the IP address. And then there's a few different options that you can use here, and it all depends on your final IP address. If you have a static IP address that remains the same across your company, you can use that equal to and enter it down here below. If yours is ranging because you are using another internet provider, you can use begins with or contains and just use the start of your IP address to at least filter out the majority of your internal employee traffic. Again, this is why you always want to keep that safeguard unfiltered profile so you still do have all of that data to access with another profile view. Hopping back, another really common one and a very useful one is forcing our page URLs to all lowercase. When you're in the reporting section of Google Analytics, if your web page URL uses a capital P instead of a lowercase p, it'll actually count those as two separate pages within the reporting. So setting this up will enable them to stay standard across the board. So really, it's just a best practice to help standardize your reporting and keep everything consolidated and easy to use. Again, you follow a similar process of naming your filter. And then for this one, the filter type would be custom. And here we would select lowercase, or if you would like to use uppercase as well, that can work perfectly as well. And underneath lowercase, we've selected request URI. And then again, similar to our goals that we set up, you can verify this filter. And because we have this already set up and enabled, it's not going to show us any data. It's not changing our data because it's already set that way. But it'll really provide you some insights as to how your web pages might be tracked twice, and all your data might not be tracked into one specific page view.
Michelle, we have a question on that particular section. So using that filter verification, is that a way you can kind of test before you set live, if you will, to verify or make sure that what you do put in place doesn't destroy your data?
Absolutely. That is a really great way to test it. As you can see, you can't always test it. For the example of when we're excluding our IP address, for that, I would go ahead and I would recommend setting up a brand new profile view and label that one as test. Have that run maybe for a week or two and compare your data to your unfiltered or another profile view and see if the data that you're getting looks consistent and looks right. And if everything appears to be working correctly, you can go back and apply it to other filters, or you can rename that test filter to your brand new profile view.
Great, thank you. So that was great. Thank you very much. The next question that comes through is centered around their top pages within their site. So is there a report, or how is that report pulled within the GA platform to see kind of what the top pages are or top trafficked pages on my site? And then maybe you can go one step further and show where that traffic is coming from to that page, or how to show kind of what that what channels are driving that traffic to that page.
Sure. So this would be underneath the what section of Google Analytics, or the behavior section. Underneath behavior, you can view different site content. You can go to all landing page or all pages on your site, landing pages, and exit pages. So for this particular example, if we're looking for the top landing page, by accessing this data, we can pull a nice report. And here, for example, you can see our, for the past 30 days, our top landing page has been this webinar registration page. So, I think what we're trying to get at with the question is when we are viewing our top landing page, how are we able to, gather or grasp more data surrounding it? So we set up this webinar. We had a lot of people come to it, but maybe we want to know how are they coming there or what devices are they using to access it. So a really great and underused tool within the Google Analytics platform is secondary dimensions. Up here, you can select a lot of different data variables, and from that, we'll be able to see a lot of different metrics as they relate to our top landing page. For example, let's discover what the top source is that drove traffic to this landing page, or how are people arriving at this landing page over the past few days. Here we can see a lot of different metrics, or a lot of different sources. Our top source is Facebook, Twitter. We also have some direct traffic as well as LinkedIn. Here we can garner a lot of different insights. For example, our social drove a lot of traffic, but then if you look at it compared to some of our other sources, such as Marketo, they had a higher bounce rate and a lower average time on site. So they might be driving a lot of visitors, but they're kind of just seeing that page and leaving right away. Whereas traffic from Marketo has caused people to stick around, view multiple pages, and stay on the site for longer than a minute. Does that answer the question you were looking for?
Definitely. And actually, if you don't mind, we have a question about the filters that we just reviewed. So if you don't mind kind of taking a step back to that filter, that would be great. And the question is on updating the filter. When you update it, will it apply that filter to historical data? So is it retroactive, or will it only start applying that filter to future traffic that's coming in?
Yeah, so any updates made to a filter will only apply to future traffic. So all old traffic will be set to whatever the previous filter was, or if there was no filter, it'll be the same that it was before.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question that we have is, how do I view all website data based on people coming from a specific location? So if I have a particular brick and mortar store or area that I want to market to, geographically, how do I see people coming from that specific area?
Sure, so there could be a couple ways you can view this. But my recommendation for gathering this data would be using advanced segments. And advanced segments are up here. So the default is always going to be viewing all visitors. But if you click Add a Segment, there's a variety of different pre-programmed and preset advanced segments you can use to segment your data and view different data points. For example, one of the preset ones is direct traffic. So by selecting this check mark here and clicking Apply, our report below now just becomes based on solely on about people who came in directly to our site. And throughout that, we can navigate all the different areas of the platform and pull any reports that we want based on that data. So I think in this instance, they're looking for people coming from a certain specific location. So this might be one that's, for example, not preset. So we want to go back up to the advanced segment section, and we'll remove the current one we have set. And up here in the big red button, we'll create a new segment. For this instance, let's pretend that we only want to view people coming from Cleveland. So we'll name this Cleveland. And then down here we can see there's a variety of different aspects and metrics that we can use to determine how we want to define the specific audience segment. So for this example, we'll be looking for only people within the city of Cleveland. A really great way to kind of check your audience to see if you have enabled the right thing would be to go over here and look on the summary, and you can see that we're hitting about 4% of our total users. So this provides us some insight as to whether we're creating either a valid audience or, and it also provides us insights as to how large the audience is. So by going up here and clicking Save, we are now viewing data. Oops, you might need to remove another previously applied template. So when there's only one advanced segment up there, we're now looking only at data coming from Cleveland traffic. I know we mentioned at the beginning that we might touch back up on the dashboard section. I think this would be a good opportunity. So if you remember, the dashboard section is a way to compile a lot of different reports on one page. So this is by using your going up here and adding your advanced segments, you might need to search for one that you created here, apply it above, and remove any old ones. You can see that now our data is focused solely on that traffic. So we can gather a lot of data really quickly based on a specific audience segmentation that we want to zero in on. Another really great feature is if we go back down to an audience overview page, is that you also can easily contrast and compare it to other segments. So we can go ahead and compare it to all users. So looking at this, our orange traffic is all users, and our blue traffic is Cleveland users. So here we're able to see that our average bounce rate is lower for Cleveland traffic, and our average time on site is also higher for Cleveland traffic. So it's a really cool way to quickly pick up and pull different audience segmentation, whether it be on traffic source, location, device that they're using to access the website, and really your possibilities can be endless there depending on what you're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you. So in comparing two different locations, is it pretty easily to say, oh, okay, I have multiple locations, I want to see traffic to Cleveland versus Cincinnati, or I want to see traffic between maybe channel sources. I want to see what my traffic and engagement looks like on people coming from a social engagement versus a direct or maybe a paid search type of channel.
Definitely. A very common one that's used as comparing paid traffic to organic traffic. So by selecting those two different ones, you can populate a report and get a lot of different metrics. So our blue, again, is our paid, and our orange is organic. So a lot of time you'll see that the bounce rate and the average time on site are characteristically lower for paid traffic, versus organic traffic typically has some of the highest average times on site and some of the lowest bounce rates.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
So our next question that came in is, how do I gather more data from Google Organic and paid search, which you may have just touched on. It doesn't seem like all the keyword data is possibly pulling in, is what the question is. So I guess I want to clarify that it's not what you just showed. It may be a different report.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and reset this to all users. so we can properly look at a nice report. And while I'm doing this, I'll say that a lot of the keyword data, both organically and paid, it has become not identified by Google in the interest of searchers' privacy. However, there are steps you can take to gather and populate more information. And the idea here would be to gather and populate Google AdWords and Google organic data all in one place or all in your Google Analytics platform. So to do that, we want to navigate to the acquisition section. And again, this would be the how are people arriving at your site. And you can see there are two areas that really define the two different types of traffic. AdWords here, once you have it connected, will pull in all your Google Analytics data or Google AdWords data all the way down from your cost and impressions. And it also will share some data with your Google AdWords profile as well. Below that, if you connect your Google Search Console, and again, we'll walk through the steps of connecting the accounts right after we share this data view. You can gather and populate a lot more information on organic traffic than you would if you did not have them connected. And you can see this is also a newer feature within the Google Analytics platform. The one part that I find the most useful is underneath Search Console, there's a queries report. And here it'll actually show you the number of impressions that your website is showing up for a number of keywords. Or in other words, it'll give you the number of times that someone performed a Google search and your website was a result for that particular search query. And with that, it also provides the click data and click-through rate data. And that can really help motivate and drive some of your strategy behind your organic search or SEO strategies. So those are two really, really awesome areas, and they provide tons of data, but that data is not automatically collected. In order to set it up, you have to navigate to the admin section, and underneath your property, there's one section called AdWords Linking, and here you'll need to go through the process of creating a new link group. Since ours are already connected, we can't quite show you how to do it, but I want to show you the section where you can enable the steps. Again, there's a really helpful, awesome Google Analytics guide that will walk you step by step through that process. One thing to note is that you do have to have edit permissions for both accounts in AdWords and Analytics for the profiles that you're trying to connect. For Google Search Console, that needs to be set up within the Google Search Console platform itself. But if you navigate under product linking to all products, there is an area, and again, another help section where it says learn more about Search Console that provides instructions on how to either set it up, or if you already have it set up, it'll provide you instructions on how to connect the two accounts. And we can definitely, if anyone has any questions particularly on linking those two, feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to provide further instructions, because overall it's a pretty simple task to connect them together, but really it can provide some awesome results and awesome data insights.
Great. We have a couple more questions. We are getting close to time, so we're going to maybe have one more question, Michelle, if that's okay, and then any additional questions that have come through, we will follow up either personally or through a blog post with the Q&A. So our final question is, what are the top 3 key metrics that provide intelligence for marketing to share with leadership to validate kind of your digital initiatives or your actual campaigns that you're running? Do you have 3 particular ones that you want to share?
Again, it's very difficult to do 3 definitive goals, but I think there are common goals across each channel. Again, if I had to pick one particular individual metric that would be used across organizations, across companies, across the board, it would be the conversion rate. So when you're setting up your goals within the Google Analytics platform, always looking to improve that the amount of times that goal is reached, whether it be people spending more time on the site, people completing forms, or so on. Also, for organic specifically, a lot of people look at the number of organic visitors. Looking at that Search Console report in the query section, you could also look at increasing the number of impressions or the number of times that your website is shown as a result in Google search engine. And again, I think setting up particular goals within the platform. I think that helps answer the question. It really is difficult. I think the important thing there is to talk within your colleagues or within your company, and especially across departments, and help define those goals. Those don't have to be the final goals that you stick with forever, but I think it is important that you're literally writing about what you want them to be. You're reporting on them on a regular basis, and you're talking about how you can go through and improve them and increase them from their set benchmark.
Great. So I guess we have time. We got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you one final question, if that's okay, before we wrap things up. Great. So the final question is, how do I track offline campaigns? So campaigns that may not be strictly digital, but drive traffic to my website. How would I track that or see engagement from those through your Google Analytics platform?
Our recommendation here would be to use vanity URLs or shorten URLs that you can use in offline campaigns, whether it be TV ads, radio ads, postcard, or another type of print. An example of a vanity URL would be something like heilemangroup.com/analytics. And it's a vanity URL because it's easy for you guys to remember, and it's also easy for you to go through and directly type into a web browser platform. So it only requires a couple additional characters. But the one tricky part to remember is, even if you are using vanity URLs, it's very important to use URL parameters within that vanity URL. So what we want to do is have that example of heilemangroup.com/analytics redirect to our final page, and within that redirect URL, we're going to build a few different tracking parameters on that. And our suggestion to build those tracking parameters would be to use Google's URL Builder. And this is just a tool that helps you easily add those parameters to URLs, so you can easily track custom campaigns or custom things that you've set up within the Google Analytics platform. So here's our example. Just start by typing in your URL, and here you can define the source, medium, campaign name, campaign term, and campaign content. So whenever you have it filled out, so let's say, for example, this is going to be a TV ad, and this is perhaps the date of it perhaps will be tomorrow. Down here you can see that it automatically generates that URL, and you can simply click the button and copy it, and that's how you want to use your vanity URL to set up.
So Michelle, it looks like on the screen it's catching up to what you just typed in. So if you just stay on that screen for a minute to let it catch up so everyone can see kind of the source and medium that you were typing in the example. Awesome. I think we're caught up. Great. Thank you. So if you could walk through kind of those last few steps, just because the screen was catching up.
Sure. So again, using this tool, and there will be a link to this tool in our follow-up that you'll receive early next week. You'll want to begin by typing in the final URL where you would like people to arrive. And you can complete several different parameters from the campaign source, medium, name, term, and content. And through that, it'll automatically generate a tagged URL. So by copying and using that, you'll be able to go through and back in the Google Analytics platform, you can determine anything that was tagged with that specific term, whether it be through an advanced segment or secondary dimensions. You can go through and search for that specific function or name.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Michelle. I think that is the end of our webinar today. Thank you very much, everyone that stayed. I hope you got as much as I did. That was really awesome. A lot of new stuff that I learned from Google Analytics. If you have any additional questions, always feel free to reach out. Any questions that we did not get to, we still have a couple others that are very specific to a business question or business need. So we'll reach out personally for those as well as a couple others, and then we'll put out a kind of Q&A blog post of the questions that we did have and the answers Michelle provided and how she walked through kind of the platform itself. We have the end of the year coming up, so this is the last highlights of 2016. Thank you again for attending. We'll follow up early next week with a best practices kind of white paper that you can hang in your cube and reference. And then we will have a series of highlights webinars for 2017, so be on the lookout for our next invite for the highlights coming late January, early February for our next webinar. Thank you again, and look forward to the holidays. Happy holidays to everyone out there, and Happy New Year.